racist, motherfucking bastard. Come around here, I will kill that bastard. Mr. Masters, Mr. Johnny, come around here, this nigga is a tsunami. Nigga.
Yeah, so what do you think about UK basketball?
I know it's racist. I know they have the last black college player in the nation join their team. I do know that.
What is?
I know they had the last black player who joined the team in all of D1 college basketball. I do know that.
The last one?
Yeah, like, you know, when they was all white.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. God damn. Okay. So UK is the last team, right? You just heard. The last team to accept a black person on their team, the last all-white supremacist team. You had Happy Chandler, who had said that, you know, he was explaining how he used to call the black people in town. There's 400 whites and 400 blacks in Corydon in Henderson County. He said we called them niggers and they didn't mind. We loved each other. So he's just saying that's like, reminds me of Dave Chappelle's sketch when it said that the racism like in Mississippi was just like, ooh, so sweet. Because it was like, morning nigger, good morning. And so it's sort of like that. It's like the racism is out there. It's in the open. It's perfected to a T. Times changed during the Patina years, but before that we could go to Georgetown. The majority of the blacks there used for UK. This is a vlogger. He said, I got a friend who's black who said, I never liked Denny Crum or Louisville. They exploited black athletes and didn't care about their education. Joe B. Hall cared about his kids, so he was defending, you know, some of the more recent UK coaches. And Rupp Arena, so, you know, Rupp Arena, that's actually a basketball gym that's being named after a known hater, known white supremacist. And the guy says only UKKK would name their arena after a known hater. I wore a Louisville Cardinal shirt to school back in 1981. My godfather became so ill, so we moved with him during the middle of the school year, and so he's in 5th grade in Henry County, Kentucky, and he remembered when he wore his Louisville Cardinal shirt, some of the kids started calling him nigger lover a few times, and then he met up in the bathroom, and they punched this kid in the mouth. Later that day in the gym, in the lunchroom, the kids and the teacher watching this big-ass country boy who should have been in the 8th grade beat me up pretty good. My jabs and combos had no effects on him. I looked like a cool hand Luke Badlin. My teacher my teacher took me in the office and told me to take my nigger shit back to Louisville. So that's the teachers. That's what the teachers in Henry County were saying, right? Sitting there telling people that was wearing like Louisville shirts, you know, take your nigger shit back to Louisville. My favorite story was when UK was playing a game at Madison Square Gardens and cornered a sports writer for the New York Times. He asked, can you please somehow note if these high school boys up here are Negroes so I don't have to bother with recruiting them? That's Adolph Rupp. Adolph Rupp said that and a million other shit. He held an effigy of Tim Bassett up when he played in Lexington. Even more pathetic is the revisionist history that's been perpetuated by the big blue media, as well as Rupp's family and former players. The UK Athletic Department produced a documentary a few years back that not only did they fail to point out that Adolf Hitler Rupp was a racist, but they made him out to be a civil rights leader. So they completely flipped the story around. And so it compared Adolf Rupp to Bear Bryant, and Bear Bryant, they both really wanted black players, but the social climate at the time prevented them from recruiting black kids. Yeah, there's also ample evidence that Bear Bryant actually lobbied George Wallace throughout the 1960s to integrate Alabama football, but there's no evidence that Adolph Rupp did the same. In fact, the stories are the exact opposite, that there were politicians in Kentucky who wanted Adolph Rupp to recruit more black players than what he did. He only recruited one black player. Adolph Rupp, the great basketball coach at the University of Kentucky from 1930 to 1972. So for 42 years, Adolph Rupp, Adolf with that name, 1930s, all the way through World War II, you know, with Adolf Hitler out there still. Adolph Rupp was a fucking, the Roman emperor of Kentucky basketball in Lexington for 42 years. So over 4 decades. The charge is usually leveled because Kentucky is an all-white team. Long after everybody knew blacks could play is just as well, if not better. I think I was able to overwhelm them with the fact that I would not be intimidated by the racism, and I also wouldn't react like a militant type, negative, angry attitude about what I saw. This is Tim Bassett. Tim Bassett, who had one of the first black players to join a college basketball team, who played against Adolph Rupp, and Adolph Rupp put a Tim Bassett effigy up in the gym when Bassett was playing them in Lexington. So why would an African American athlete from Washington sign on to play at Georgia in the early 1970s? Tim Bassett said he developed a relationship with the assistant coach, John Guthrie, who knew Tim Bassett from his high school days in Washington. Tim Bassett trusted him and had no fear about going to Georgia. If I was going to be there, Tim Bassett said, I couldn't be intimidated by the things that I saw. Kentucky was a slave state. University of Kentucky was founded in 1798, so do you think it wasn't built on the backs of slaves? Who gives out more scholarships, academics or athletic, to local black kids? The UK. That's what somebody is saying on Facebook. They're defending them, right? They're mad. I suggested that, UK might be racist. Money side, the same people wearing, buying, supporting diamonds from Sierra Leone. The same black people swear by Coca-Cola, and they have proven racial inequality in the past. So I guess there's diamonds or something. People at U of L is wearing diamonds from Sierra Leone. Something about Coca-Cola. I do think Kentucky was a slave state, so U of L could have been built by slaves. So I think that's a fair point. And then plus both college basketball teams have white Italian coaches exploiting poor black college students on their slave backs, carrying on this peculiar Southern institution which still maintains that black folks do all the work but get none of the money, and then the white master pressers who's lazy and just gives out orders all day is the one who gets all the money. Rivalries, I think it's good for a competition. The whole basketball thing, I don't know. There's not many Kentucky players actually on the teams. There's like 5 on in Kentucky, and then there's like 3 in Louisville. So I feel like I don't get it. Feels like it's the gladiators. We're diverting our attentions from the actual politics, so we're not actually paying attention to what's going on in the world. Our attention is being diverted, so we're not paying attention to the war or the Yemeni wedding that's being bombed because we're paying attention to basketball. So it's got that similarity too. But I feel like you can use this for something else. So you can have a rivalry between University of Louisville and Kentucky, not just in their basketball players, but in everything. They're both like UK is supposed to be a premier flagship research institution, and Louisville tries to be a research institution, right? That's sort of the perception that they have of themselves. They try to beat the Joneses, so to speak, because they think of UK as being the flagship. It's got more students there than anybody else, and it's but like U of L they're the ones that started the first emergency room and the first ambulance service. So the first emergency room was when if you're sick or if you needed to be taken to the emergency room, an ambulance would come pick you up, and then you would be taken care of. So a trauma center, that's a crisis, saying like you need help right now. So that's U of L that created that. Also the first hand transplant and the first heart transplant. So U of L's got several inventions, several firsts that they can brag about. In fact, that UK uses today. There's ambulance in Lexington. If there's a heart or hand transplant, they're going to be using the technology developed at U of L, and also the emergency room and ambulance. So both of those things, emergency room was first in created by U of L. So we have a lot of firsts. We've created a lot of things. We have a lot of inventions. What has UK done? What have they invented? What's Lexington got? Lexington itself has only got like a half a skyscraper, some big blue Fifth Third building, and like 300 black people. There's not even hardly any black people there, but they got a shit ton of poor white folks. No inventions, lots of poor white folks. So if you're in Louisville, you have an ambulance service here, right? In fact, ambulances are used everywhere. We don't know the intellectual property rights, I guess, is already over and void, but still. I was looking at the rosters for the Louisville players, and you have Dylan O'Vare, who's from Lexington, Kentucky, from Lexington Catholic. You have Tim Henderson from Louisville, and he's the only person from Louisville. Tim Henderson is the only basketball player from Louisville playing on the University of Louisville team. And then David Levitch. He's from Goshen, Kentucky, North Oldham. So David Levitch, Tim Henderson, and Dylan O'Vare are the only 3 people from Kentucky that's on U of L team, and only one of those is from Louisville. There's 15 teams, there's 15 players on the team, and compared to the coaches, there's 13 coaches. So Rick Pitino's the head coach, and then you got Mike Ballado, Wyking Jones, Kevin Keats, Doug Davenport, Andre McGee, Stephanie Diebold Davis, Ray Gannog, Fred Hinna, George Schuscher, Vincent Tatum, Wayne Turner, Anthony Wright. So they have just as much people on their fucking coaching staff who's getting paid, lots of white people getting paid, and then, the players is 15, the ones who's doing all the work, the workhorses, they don't get a dime. So, I don't know, we lost. I don't know why we lost. Let's see. And then I guess I was going to, let's see, there's 6 players actually on UK's team that's from Kentucky. There's Jared Polston from Nicholasville, Kentucky, John Hood from Madisonville, Kentucky, Todd Lanter from Lexington, Kentucky, EJ Florio. EJ, you Florio. There's Lexington, Dunbar. See, Dominique Hawkins from Richmond, Kentucky, and Derek Willis. There's Matt from Mount Washington, Kentucky, Bullet East. So there's 6 players that's actually from Kentucky that's on UK team, and there's 3 players on Louisville's team, and that's out of 15. So there's 11 players not from Kentucky on UK team. Louisville should be picking up more players from Louisville and from Kentucky. I don't know why they have actually so little, and I don't know why we lost either. The Pitino, I feel like Rick Pitino is way overblown. Pitino should be fired. I mean, Pitino's been at U of L, their coach for the last 12 years, and what the fuck has Rick Pitino done? He hasn't done shit. He brought 1 championship last year, but for 12 years he didn't do anything. Before that, Rick Pitino also doesn't even have the decency to use a hotel when he's with a prostitute. He's just fucking right there in the restaurant bathroom. He doesn't even go to a hotel. So, and he's also under contract to be here for another 9 years. I mean, seriously, 12 years, 12 fucking years. George Washington had, the decency to step down away from power after 8 years. And he's going to be here for another 9 years. So for 20 fucking years, we got U of L stuck with Rick Pitino. And just because of a stupid fucking contract. But people get fired from contract for lots of reasons, for a breach of contract, right? He's also making billions on the backs of young black males. Racism is jealousy of the body. White man's making money off the black male body. What's Russ Smith going to get out of this except the glory? Rick Pitino is more for Kentucky. He did better with Kentucky. Got 2 championships with Kentucky. So what has he done for Louisville? He's done more for Kentucky than what he's done for Louisville. He also called Kentucky the Roman Empire of college basketball. So he's got this reverence for it. I mean, like, shit, I don't even know where his loyalties really lie. Is he going to be like, Thomas Bramlett, Lincoln picks the motherfucker and then he just goes Confederate? He seems like he's got a pretty decent head on his shoulders. I don't know. We lost yesterday. We're the champions. Well, how come we didn't beat? That sucks. That's now, are we starting down from like lower expectations? So now we can like make a comeback. I mean, how does this? He's not ready for it. He's not ready for taking on Calipari. And I'm not sure what the deal is. So let's see. After spending 2 years coaching in the NBA, Rick Pitino returned to college level in 1989. Became coach at Kentucky. Legendary Kentucky program was dusting off its shoulders from a major recruiting scandal brought on by former coach Eddie Sutton. Left it on the NCAA probation. So that's that's consistent with Calipari and the fucking corruption that happens. They're paying the players. It's against NCAA standards, even though it should be legal for everybody. So I don't know. Rick Pitino is like our Caligula. If he's going to say the UK is a Roman Empire for college basketball, then he's trying to. I don't know. I think he's trying to take U of L down a notch or so. So I feel bad for Denny Crum. Like, poor Denny Crum. He's probably rolling in his grave right now. Like, shit, Pitino. Have some enthusiasm. Have some aggression. Throw a fucking chair or two. You're tenured in as a coach, so you're going to be with U of L for another 9 years. So you're here no matter what you do. So, why not be a badass? Why not be like, hey, this is what, get kicked out of a game. There's nothing more exciting than when you see your fucking coach get kicked out and you got to just rally together and say, hey, we're here and we got to do something. So somebody's got to step it up, and then it turns it, makes the whole game more exciting. Pitino also trained University of Florida winning coach. So like Billy Donovan used to be assistant coach under Pitino, and then he went on to University of Florida and won back-to-back national championships for them. So overall, there's not really many that Kentucky players on the teams. There's only 6 Kentucky players out of 15 on Kentucky's so-called flagship university, and only what 1 or 2 of them from Lexington. You had 3 on Kentucky's Louisville. 1 of them were from Lexington. 1 of them were from Louisville. Out of 15, so that's not very like. What are we cheering for? These are the gladiators. They're diverting our attention from the war, and also UK fans. They're probably the same people that's been bitching about Duck Dynasty's grizzly, bigoted, bearded, duck murdering grandpa, and they've been bitching about Miley Cyrus. So they just keep on fucking bitching. Like, stop fucking bitching so much. Seriously, UK, get over yourselves.